Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Ramsbotham. I'll be your host for tonight. Glad to introduce two esteemed colleagues who are both FA coach developers, Paul Holder and Jimmy Gilligan. Evening, fellas.
Evening.
Good evening.
So this is the third in a series of FA Cup webinars. First, we looked at Mason Mount's journey into Chelsea's first team. Then we looked at Bukayo Saka's journey into Arsenal's first team. And tonight we're going to have a look at Chelsea from a team analysis perspective. Tomorrow night we will do the same with Arsenal, and then we will review we review the FA Cup final next Tuesday after it's been played on Saturday. So as we start, we'll look at Chelsea from a team perspective across the course of this season. So just to kick things off, their route to the FA Cup final. What's some of your observations, fellas?
Obviously, you look at the teams they've played, Matt, Liverpool, Leicester, Man United, all right up there in terms of their final league position with the Premier League ending. So, you know, it's not been an easy route for them. They've had to overcome some hurdles to get there.
Yeah. So they played three of the top five Premier League teams, haven't they?
Yeah.
Paul, have you got any observations in terms of the route to the final?
Well, not really. When did lockdown start?
So it'll be for the quarters and semis they played.
So those two were behind closed doors, pretty much. Yeah.
And then they've gone away from home throughout the 5 rounds as well. So they're playing in a variety of contexts, haven't they? So over the course of tonight, we'll start to unpick that. So they played Arsenal, who they play in the FA Cup final, twice, obviously in the Premier League. First time was on the 29th of December. Okay, they started with a back three in this game. Okay, so there was a 3-4-3. And they changed to a 4-3-3 after 34 minutes. They were 1-0 down at this point. Okay, and they made a tactical change. They put Jorginho in for Emerson. Okay, and they actually went on to win the game 2-1. So as a coach, Jimmy, what are some of the things that start to stand out in that game, for instance?
Well, you look at that as a back three, and obviously, what's the situation? Why do you make the change?
Yeah.
You're looking, like you said, at what's going on in the game, and Frank and Jody will be, looking at how the game's going, and we've already discussed amongst ourselves that, Chelsea were getting exploited down that left-hand side. So they're looking at making that change. So you're looking at the personnel you've got on the bench. You're looking at the personnel you're going to take off. You're looking also at making a change in the shape. And is it the change in the shape because of the personnel you're bringing on, or is it the change of the shape because of someone you're bringing off? So there are a number of things, although when we see managers and coaches make changes, there's an awful lot of thought that needs to go into it before that change has actually happened. And, would Frank and Jody have even thought about the what-if scenarios against Chelsea at this point? But like you say, they go 1-0 down and they end up winning the game with a back four as opposed to a back three.
Cool. And then just as we take it on, in the second game on the 21st of January, they started with that shape. They started with a 1-4-3-3. And actually, David Luiz in this game was sent off after 26 minutes. The game was 0-0, and it ends up finishing 2-2. Paul, what would be some of the observations within that game? Some of the things we discussed.
I think the three at the back and the 3-4-3 is an aggressive sort of formation. You got 7 players in front of the back three, and that's a really attacking stuff. And when you're playing a back four with 4-3-3. It's a bit more. It could appear to be a bit more reserved, but it depends who's playing at the fullbacks, pretty much, and pretty much you're pushing those fullbacks on and leaving the 2 centre backs to deal with whatever they've got. And normally they're marking 1v1, so that also can. You've got to be careful about formation, saying this one's defensive and this one isn't. It depends how you deploy and how you play that formation. It's not the formation, it's how you play it. And you look at some of the characters in there, and I see Azpilicueta, Yeah, I learned how to pronounce that. He took me ages. You know, we could play in a back three and a back four, and equally. So they've got flexibility, and this is a message for player. You know, this is a message for young players and young coaches. Is you could play 3-4-3 for half an hour and then change it to 3-4-3-3 and then 3-4-2-1 or whatever it is. You could play 3 or 4 formations in one game. You know, it's really important that there's flexibility and adaptability from the players, which is pretty much what Chelsea have got.
It's interesting, Noddy, as I see it there. You know, they have Louise sent off Arsenal. Obviously, the game ends up 2-2. You wonder, would the staff at Chelsea have been thinking about, you've just alluded to, you know, different formations. You can say they are defensive or attacking. It's what you make of them. Would it have helped Chelsea to have maybe gone to a back three at that point, to have been able to push players higher up the pitch, maybe? Well, I don't know. It's just a question, really.
How often do you see teams with one person extra and still not be able to, you know, use that extra person? You know, like how many teams go down to 10 men, and for most of the time it doesn't really make a difference.
No, there's a great stat out there somewhere. We've used it before, Rambo, haven't we? About the teams that go down to 10 men don't end up losing the game.
Well, the other thing is that you know, the pitch is only so wide, and if you cram it full of players, it's just as hard getting through. You know, losing one man might not be that much of a problem, but I still think that if you are one player up, it's that signal. You've got some managers that automatically, instantly change the formation if they go a player up or a player down.
Yeah,
you know? And in this case, I don't think they did. I think they kept it as it was.
And our reason for really showing this is just to provide some context. It was Arteta v Lampard here, and the key message being there's tactical flexibility. So there's changes within games. So we're showing this as what were they doing in the FA Cup final. So we're going to try and unpick some of that tonight. We did some analysis on the Premier League for the first 23 game weeks. Okay, and we compared a back three versus back four. And the data would start to suggest that playing with a back four leads to an increased win percentage, and the unbeaten percentage pretty much stays constant. Just as to answer one of the questions that's come in the chat, is there a key time to make changes within the game? We did a further analysis with this, showed that making changes at half time seemed to have the most effect in changing that shape, to actually allowing time for them changes to take place. Whereas if you were doing it later in the game, there was little time for it to have an impact. So that's some of the things we started to unpick. Over to you, Jimmy, to start to try and explain what you see with it.
Yeah, obviously, look, it's a 229 game sort of process that you've done that within there. Obviously, 118 games played with a back three, but the big stat for me is the win percentage. Rambo, Noddy, you know, with a back four, it's a 40% win percentage, as opposed to a 31. But then you go down one more column and you look at that unbeaten one. So, you know, what is it within the Premier League? What are you trying to do? You're trying to stay in the Premier League. You're trying to win games of football. But you also hear managers a lot of the time say, "Don't lose games." So if you took the bottom stat, you'd be saying, well, a back three looks a more likely formation, tactic, whatever you want to call it, system, to not lose the game. But are you going to win enough games to be there or thereabouts when it comes to it, and not be in the dogfight? So obviously it would have been interesting to have carried this study on. I know we've gone from game 1 to game 23, but when the full season unravels, which it has just done, and I know you'll do some more stuff in terms of data, I think it'd be really interesting to see it, Rambo. But the unbeaten one, I think if you could show a lot of managers that stat, I think they'd probably take that before most games kick off. Yeah, but Bobby, what do you think on that?
I think if you want to get in the Champions League, and just being unbeaten is not good enough.
No,
you have to win. You know, you know, like 3 points for a win. You know, like, so I think the win statistic is the big one for me.
Yeah,
you know, and then I know it sounds ridiculous, but you're better off winning one game and to get 3 points and drawing 2. If you see what I mean, you do the math.
Yeah.
I'll do the maths. Goodness me, can't add up to 3. But if you look, I think the trouble with stats is what context it's in, and it's interesting when you see what teams they played a back three against. Because you're looking at 30 games in the league with a back four, but 8. Why did they play with back four? Why did they play Bournemouth, Arsenal, Spurs twice, Wolves, Saints, Man United in the Cup, and Liverpool?
Yeah.
What are the reasons they played with a back three?
Yeah. So just to add some context, we did this for Chelsea. So we looked at Chelsea's games across the Premier League between a back three and back four to sort of give us some insight into tonight. And yeah, it started to show when they played a back three, they were actually the more successful. They won 5 out of them 8 games, and they were unbeaten in a big percentage of them. And then you look at the teams they've played. They're teams that have done well in the league. Okay, they've all stayed in the league with the exception of Bournemouth, so they're all top end. And I know that the numbers are different, obviously, comparison between 8 and 30. Any other observations from you, Jimmy?
Well, just obviously the games that they played, like you say, there's 7 of them in the Premier League. There's 1 in the FA Cup. But then all of a sudden, the win ratio goes up. And I know Noddy's talking about data, and it's how you perceive data to be. But if I'm a manager, if I'm Chelsea's manager, and looking at that stat, 63% win ratio as opposed to 50% with the back four, I'm not saying it would completely change my mind, but it would start to make me think about things more. And you're 75% unbeaten. Totally get what Noddy said earlier on about, most teams should go out for 3 points in my opinion as well. But I would imagine that as you get to that back end of that season, as sort of the working end of the season, Noddy, I still think there's that situation where people don't want to be beaten. They want to stay unbeaten,
Exactly right. Yeah.
There's some great comments coming in the chat about it's all about the players you've got. So what profile of players you have available to deploy in them positions, and actually, is it a psychological trait in terms of having more numbers in that area that you're able?
If you look at the Premier League, Matt, and you see, the thing about pressing, and you want to stop teams playing out, a Bournemouth to play out. So I'll tell you what, let's put more players up there to stop them doing it. Just stop them doing what they want to do, and you need numbers to do that. So it's not a surprise to me if you're playing against teams that want to play out or want to play through their fullbacks and get the fullbacks up, is to push the fullbacks back. In order to do that, you need players to do that. You need numbers. So it's pretty much a maths thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's just about maths, really. It's pushing them back. So it's interesting that with 3 at the back, it's a really aggressive press. And we'll see later how aggressive Chelsea's press is, particularly against Manchester United in the last thing. It was like frenetic. It was a fantastic example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that leads us in nicely to sort of look at Chelsea's route to the final again, and look at the different systems they've played throughout their journey. Anything stand out for you, Jimmy?
Obviously, look, there's a massive amount of adaptability there in terms of the formations, the shapes, the systems that we talk about, and a little bit what's interesting there is the one game with a back 3 against Man United in the semi-final. They looking at this, they hadn't tried it in the FA Cup until that point. So, sort of the question hanging on my lips is why do it then? Because there's a lot of stake in that game. You could argue there's a lot of stake in every game, but even more so than being in a semi-final. But is it a brave thing to do? Why do you do it? What's the thinking behind the management team at Chelsea as to why they've done that? But also, I would have to say that with what the coaches are seeing on the screen here is a huge adaptability around the players that the management team are picking to play in those particular games. And one in particular, I know Noddy's going to talk about later on, who can play in a varying number of positions in terms of around the back 3, around the back 4, around the back 5.
Noddy, and you alluded to earlier about this flexibility within games. So there's some questions coming in the chat about changing dependent on game state, whether you're winning, losing, or drawing in games, and that sort of responding to that flow of games.
Yeah, but I'm going to look. I'm looking at that now, and I'm saying the semi-final against Manchester United. Manchester United are in full flow. You know, they are in great form. You know, so I'll tell you what, we'll counterpunch that.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll go aggressive, yeah, and we'll go up against you, and we'll stop that flow. You know, and in fairness, that's exactly what they did. You know, Manchester United were probably, if you look at the form post. I don't know, just before lockdown and stuff, Manchester United's form has been terrific. You know, scoring goals for fun. And Chelsea have gone, do you know what? I don't think that's really brave. Well, maybe it's not brave. Maybe it's just normal for Frank Lampard to say, no, we're going to go toe-to-toe. You know, we're not going to sit back and let you have it. We're going for you. You know, and I think, and it paid rich dividends, didn't it? Because
that teases up beautifully to sort of this comparison now between what does a back three give you, what does a back four give you, and we're going to shine a lens on sort of building the attack, so progression from the defensive third up the pitch, and actually in terms of this pressing, as we spoke about earlier. Just as with your coach's eye, what would some of your observations be between a back three and a back four?
For me, obviously, you've got, you know, Noddy's alluded to it. In terms of a back three, you can press higher. You can look to get more players up the pitch, and I think it gives you a huge opportunity to be very, very aggressive and on the front foot as a team. Also, it gives you flexibility of dropping people in, and if you grab hold of the game, Matt, you can then sink it back into a back five if you want to talk it. And I wouldn't talk around negativity when I talk about a back five. You know, I talk around. I think it's clever from the manager to recognise it. So, you know, you go in front 1 or 2-0, then you drop back as a back five, and then say to the team, come and break us down. If you've got that ability to do that, I think that you know, that gives you the what if scenarios, and I think that's hugely important, especially at the level we're talking about right now. You know, with the top players, and top players will see that as well. I don't believe they always need the instruction from the sideline. They'll see it, they'll feel it, they'll sense it, and they'll just drop back in. But equally, when they want to go after the ball, and we'll see it in the videos that we're going to show the coaches tonight, that they go after it, and it gives you a much bigger impact by having more people in the top end of the pitch. But equally, the last thing I'll say on this is the defending side of it, in terms of what you leave behind you when the 6 or 7 go after it, better be switched on.
Yeah. Of course, I'm just going to roll the video in terms of this is Chelsea building the attack. So we're just going to look at them in the Leicester game to start with. So we're looking at the quarterfinal. As we play these clips, we're going to play them once through so you can get familiar with the clip. We're going to talk through some of our thoughts behind it, and we're going to play it again with some detail. And we'll have an in-depth discussion about that. So, Noddy, you watched this game, them playing Leicester in the quarterfinal. What were some of your observations of this clip?
Well, first of all, the reason I picked this clip is when you do playing out from the back, people say, right, okay, well, we'll start with a goal kick. Well, that's actually playing out from a goal kick. Playing out from the back is just playing in that area where they are now and getting out the field. And normally, it doesn't necessarily mean you have possession. So the clip started with a corner from Leicester, and it was a bit of an untidy play. And then you'll see later, Gilmour tidies it up, and then they form a shape, and then they can get into a pattern to attack. So that's the story of playing out from the back. It's not all nice and organised all the time. It can start from a rough bit of football. You watch this. Look, ball comes in. It's all a bit of a mess now. You know, we're all it's all disarranged, and people are all over the place. Or it looks as though they are. And then suddenly Gilmour will go tidy up. Now they're ready to get into say Leicester have gone, well, we ain't got the ball now. Can we counter-attack? Reece James turns out, calms it all down. That's a bit loose. Calms it all down, and now they're into a back four, and they can play out. And just watch how they get up the pitch if he gets out of the way. Right?
I guess what you're talking about, Noddy, is this flow between being set and in balance, and that the game being
so if you stop it there and you see the back four there, you don't need any players. You know, you got the goalkeeper as well. Remember, he can play with his feet as well. You've got the 3 midfielders. You've got Mason Mount, Kante, and Gilmour, all with bags of energy, all going to move all over the place to try and get it. So it's actually a godsend for the back four. And watch now. Look, he comes in. I think is that Mason Mount's coming in. Yeah,
we highlighted Gilmour there, haven't we? Just
Gilmour. Look, they're rotating all over the place, but there's patience. Yeah,
and you're right.
Doesn't matter how you get it. The shape is pretty clear. 3 in midfield, 4 at the back, and look at this pass now, and stop it there. Sometimes when we go play out from the back, you get predictable, and I say, well, but Reece James has put a surprise in there. He's put a surprise ball in behind the Leicester 6 forwards. And now the back 4 of Leicester are in trouble because Willan has found the gap between the 6 players of Leicester and the 4 defenders, and now they're off and running. And it's from one brilliant bit of play from Reece James, a surprise ball gone forward, which Chelsea are really good at. They are really willing to play that ball centrally and quickly forwards. And this is unfortunate because then it drops out of play.
And I guess another key message is that there's that rotation, isn't there? So it's not just into the front man, in this case, Abraham, into a winger rolled inside.
What's this one?
So this is into Jimmy's clip. So Jimmy watched the semi-final. So again, we've shown it from Man U being in possession, and then Chelsea trying to wrestle back control of the game.
And here again, very calm when they win the ball back. And I was just looking on the chat there about, if you can stop it there, Matt, for a second for me. I was just looking at someone in the chat was talking about, does a back 3 always sort of link to counter-attacking football? And I would say this particular clip doesn't show that, because what Chelsea do is take the time to build up again and actually build from the back. So, it's getting, I'd call it resetting. So here they go. Look at Azpilicueta. You've got Reece James up and Alonso on the far side. So you've got their 2 potential wing backs, and you've got your right-sided centre-back taking the cross in the box. Good play there from Kovacic. And patience again. And again, your right-sided centre-back is putting the cross in, and that's your left wing-back as such. Alonso getting the header in.
So we're just going to replay the clip now.
No worries.
That detail in.
So stop it there, Matt. Can you stop it there for me? So at that point, are we expecting the Chelsea wing-back, Reece James, are we expecting him to go down the line? But no, he doesn't. He turns out, he looks to reset, as I call it, and start again. Okay, Matt, thank you.
Yeah, and you've got Willian who's recovered in, haven't you? So you've got
absolutely. Yeah.
One of them are Chelsea organised to go and break quickly, or are they just recovering the ball?
So now, if you slow it down again, just keep it going for a minute.
Yeah.
So if we stop it there, Matt, you look at that back 3, but you look at the back 5, and we've highlighted that with the circles and the midfield 2 players. So I'm starting to look at my units. Are they in the right areas? What are they looking for? The 2 central midfielders are going chasing for the ball. Yeah. Now, this is where they play that little. I think it's a lucky one, but it's another surprise pass that it goes straight through into Giroud.
They do that a lot, Jimmy. This one-touch surprise that comes, and they're not afraid to go into Giroud or Tammy Abrahams if he's there.
Yeah,
play it forward beyond 10, 15 yards. So you look as though they're playing out nice and calm, and then suddenly there's this surprise.
Yeah, Matt, can you take it back a frame or 2 or not?
Yep, I can take it back
to the pass where Rudiger. Yeah, so as he plays the pass, that's fine. Great, carry it on. So I've just asked the coaches to have a quick look at Mason Mount. So pay attention to Mason Mount as this pass goes forward. He doesn't get the hump with his teammate. He knows he's going straight on, and he's going into Giroud now to support him.
Yeah, some nice comments coming in the chat about having more of your troops deployed at the back gives you more space up the pitch, so they can actually go and exploit it when it gets into them advanced areas now.
Yeah. Now, this is what you want from your big striker, isn't it? You know, when your back three have played out, they've been patient, and all of a sudden it comes up to him, and he's good with the ball. You know, he's economical with the football. You see Willian there just check.
And it's interesting, Jimmy, when they play three, is I watched Giroud, you know, in the build-up, you know, and he knows that pass will, if he's in the right place, he'll get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll get it. They won't take those extra passes sideways or back if he's available. They'll go straight into him. And they do that with Tammy Abrahams as well. Oh, penalty.
We've highlighted the desire as well, as you alluded to earlier. Your wing backs to get up the pitch. You sent them back on the outside, get up the pitch as well, and ultimately crosses in the box. And
then what we've got here, Matt, and what I'm seeing on my screen is you know, Kovacic. Is it Jorginho? No, Kovacic. Sorry, where he mops up. You know, Noddy's already talked about Billy Gilmore doing that, but Kovacic mops up. There's the job he's doing. And he's one of those back three that I talked about earlier on in terms of once they go forward with 7, what's the other 3 doing?
So just stop that there, Matt, because that's really important as well, Jimmy, I don't know where he crossed it from. Not that one. You know, back. He crossed it from a box cross, you know, the Bruyne position, you know, just outside the box, but not wide. That's such a dangerous cross, you know, that comes in. I don't know if you can find it again, but watch where the cross comes in from, because this is like so now there's a real threat from crossing from where this lad is, the 28. Yeah. Stop. He's not wide. Stop there, Matt. Right. De Bruyne does that all day. He does that all the time. This box cross. Yeah. So this is another thing about some of the patterns in the game, that this cross is becoming more and more popular and more dangerous. You know, so you can imagine now centre backs or back three players are now got to be good at crossing.
Yeah,
you know, because they're not necessarily wide. They're doing it from there.
And Noddy, what's really highlighted is you can't see Reece James, I know, but you've got 7 players forward, but the 2 that we've highlighted there is the right centre back crosses to the left wing back.
Yes,
you know, that's a real positive way of playing.
Yeah, well, watch Sheffield United, Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, we talked about that, didn't we? Yeah. Sheffield United, Wolves, 2 teams who like to do that as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Pardon?
Just to round off this section, so from a data perspective, the back 3 comparison to a back 4 comparison for Chelsea, they have a similar amount of possession in their defensive third, so they average 97 passes per game, but they're able to progress up the pitch 11 times on average in a back 4 compared to 9 times in a back 3. So they seem to be more effective at progressing up the pitch with a back 3 in these cases. So we're now
sorry to interrupt you, but otherwise I'm going to forget. Just take it back to, don't bring the back 4 thing in, but it's really important for coaches to think about, if you're doing playing out from the back, what that looks like. It's not comfortable necessarily. Sometimes it's a mess. And in the one that we did before, the back 3 one, when they were playing against Leicester, there was a tidy up pass that changed it. There was a turnout from Reece James that changed it. And then there was a surprise. So watch again. Watch what the mess, and then watch the whole tempo and thing of the game change by this one pass from Gilmore. That completely changes. Look, Leicester are now saying, well, I've got to get back. That turn changes it. And then finally, I'm not sure about that pass, by the way, but finally, this surprise. And I wonder if teams or coaches have got them in them. This one surprise, but he knows. Yeah. Look at the check back he does, Reece James, to get it. He knows he's going into Willan because Willan has found the gap. So they're not afraid to just spring a counter-attack. It doesn't seem like a counter-attack, but they change the pace of the game completely with that pass.
Yeah. So Noddy, what just things that I've been thinking about there while we're talking is, so with all the coaches that are on it, what does it look like in your environment?
Yeah.
What does it look like when you are designing practices for these players?
Yeah.
And something that you alluded to a little bit earlier. So you coaches, you guys and girls that are in the development phase, what's it going to look like for you with your players? But equally,
bang. Now, Jimmy, you're right. What's it look like for you? But that bit of ingenuity and imagination and creativity, right? It might be planned, I'm not sure. As suddenly, for me, that's like a counter-attack.
Yeah.
Now they've changed the pace of the game. That's a counter-attack situation from your own possession. I know.
Absolutely. And the other thing, Noddy, that we spoke about with Rambo earlier on was that when the coaches are thinking about build the attack as such, it doesn't start from a goal kick.
No.
It starts from the chaos of an attack against you, a throw-in, defending a corner, a million things. It's not, so when you are thinking about how you're going to design the practice, Noddy, think about, which you do very well, it's thinking about what's the game look like.
Yeah.
You don't build the attack from every goal kick, so it's not going to happen.
You get into shape, Jimmy. You get into shape. You're not already in shape.
No.
If you're a goal kick, you're already in shape. You've got to learn to get into shape from being out of shape. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
And that means that you probably ain't got the ball, to be honest. Or it's a corner, or it's something a bit wild and windy, whatever it is.
So, doesn't it? It's sort of these are the pressing clips we're going to show. So it shows that transition from Chelsea having the ball in that instance to giving it away. Now Leicester's got the ball. So what's your shape out of possession and when's the right moment to go and try and get it back?
Well, there's not absolutely clear that, and you'll see the Manchester United clip in a minute, but that Chelsea's pressing is just outstanding. But in this game, they don't press all the time. If you watch, and we'll wait for this to go through, and then you'll play it again, presumably. Yeah. They've pressed and got the ball back, and that's exactly what they should be doing.
Yeah. So from a data perspective, you're right. Chelsea are outstanding at pressing. So in terms of PPDA, which is how many times they allow the opposition passes before they do a defensive action, they rank 10. So they're right up there. So they allow 10 passes. So they're really aggressive.
Right. Well, watch what they do now. There's no way they can win it. Yeah, there's no way. So they're just looking for position now. They're not looking for possession. They're looking for position. Yeah, look at Tammy Abraham. He's just checked on his shoulder where that midfielder's, checked where his mates are, and he said, okay, I'm going to go now. I'm off.
Yeah.
Because you're covered. He's not going to get it in midfield, the Leicester lad. So watch what happens now. So Tammy's going. He's saying, well, it's not me. It's not me. This is me. Yeah, this is me. Nearest the ball, this is me. Now, this is really good from him, and it's obvious because he's an international. It should be. He ain't going to win it. Yeah?
Yeah.
But watch what he does. And I think this is really important for centre forwards who are operating as a 3. He can't win it, and he ain't going to the ball, but he's not going to let the other centre back have it. Yeah. He's not going to let it come across the field. So if you stop it there, Tammy Abraham, the 9, is saying, I'll let the goalkeeper have it because I can't affect that. But the other centre-back is not going to have it. We're going to keep the game in that area. So watch how Chelsea then decide when to press. They allow them to go down the flanks and then nick it there. Watch.
It's about responding to that moment, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Watch. They can't win it. Now he's going to go, right, I'm going to hurry you. And that's Soyshu, is it? And he's going, right, you're not coming inside. You're not going back. You can go there, mate. And the rest, and now we got you. Yeah. Now, I would have hoped that's by design. Yeah. And then they're off and running.
I think, Noddy, without a doubt, the Tammy Abrahams bit, which you've highlighted, is by design.
Absolutely.
It's it's a great clip to show young strikers who want to show you that they're putting in the effort. But sometimes you don't need to go, like a headless chicken. You can slow down, and you can do such an effective job by slowing down.
Tammy Abraham, sometimes centre forwards get this thing about they don't work hard, they don't do this. Well, you watch Giroud and you watch Tammy Abraham, and they think their way through out of possession really as much as anybody on the pitch, which is evident in the clip that we've just seen. And look, from winning it into the far corner, they've got possession and probably a good save, I think. And
Chelsea do this consistently. So again, from a data perspective, the average 15 ball recoveries in the attacking half per game. So this is a trend that's consistent from them, that ability to win the ball back in good areas and then actually counter attack effectively and create chances, as we've just shown.
We've got some
we went into the semi final, and this was from the kickoff, wasn't it? What are some of your observations with this?
The start of this, Rambo, sorry, I'm delayed a little bit. So obviously we put this down here. Did Chelsea pressing set the tone for the semi-final? I think this is outstanding. There's no doubt about it that it might be the players, it might be the management, but they've said, I tell you what, we're going to set our intent out, and we're going to set it out from the very start. And I don't know how many times I've probably heard that in team talks from managers I've played under, coaches I've played under. I'm probably given team talks myself. Right from the start, we're going to get at them. But that really does set a precedent for me. And even on the throw-in now, they're still going after it. They're still going to go after it. Look at Giroud there. And he actually cuts that right-sided centre-back off. And there they go and nick it again. I think it's excellent play. And this is what you want your goalkeeper to do. At the end of the day, he's got to do a job. But I think from the off, that really set it up.
Yeah.
So here we are now. Will it play through in slow motion, Rambo, as well?
Yes, I'll play it, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to let it run. I'm not going to talk for a second. Just let the guys and girls on the call watch it.
So we've chosen a structured restart here. So it's De Gea, the goal kick for Man United. We just wanted to show a blend of what the game looks like.
Right.
If you can stop it there. So here we go. It's a little bit like Noddy's just alluded to about setting the trap. And Giroud's excellent at it. He's showing one way. Now, what I want you to do is pay attention to Willian. Willian goes, look at Mason Mount. Mason Mount saying, go on then. If you want to play it, I'm going to nick it. But watch Willian. He's already on his way. Now, stop it there for me, Matt, please.
Just going to...
Is it going to carry on?
Yeah, so I think I'll replay it for you, Jimmy.
No worries.
I'll replay it again so we can talk through it. There you go. Okay,
I'll just let it go into again. Everyone, just watch Willian as well for me, please. But Giroud starts it for us. You know, this is like Paul said. This is someone who doesn't run about allegedly. So it's dictating the players, I would call it, and you'll have your own language.
This is bad.
So stop it there, please.
Matic, what's he up to?
Okay, so Matic for me has been a world-class player, but I think Chelsea have actually, I think, you know, when Noddy talked about, is it a game plan earlier on? This is a game plan for me. I don't think that, or Chelsea have done their homework on Matic about not looking out, not opening his shoulders, not looking and being aware of what it is. Willian's already on his way to do that, Matt. And what they've done is they've set that press with Giroud, with Mount, with Kovacic already looking down, and there he goes and wins the ball back. Not a great tackler, but wins it back. Now Chelsea are in the ascendancy. Look at it. He brings Giroud down, which could arguably be a foul. And here we go again. Now, this bit here, stop. Again, defending the counter-attack. Because I'm saying to you, if he's not there, Man United are away at Chelsea and they've got a chance to go and counter. But it's a brilliant piece of play by Jorginho to defend the counter-attack. So, again, on the front foot, ready to press. If you hold it there for 1 second and look at how many players are in this still, again, for Chelsea, you've got 7 players. That shows their attacking intent, but also it shows the intent to want to go after the ball as soon as they've lost it. So they keep it alive with a midfield 2 doing their job. Now you've got players in the box. You've got Giroud getting in there. You've got Mount in there. You've got Willian on the edge. And you've probably got Reece James, I think it is, on the other side, outside of you. So a great intent to press from a well-structured team at that point.
Absolutely, and it's that keeping that momentum, keeping that pressure, ringing the block, just keeping the intensity in that. So we're just going to delve into what that back three personnel looks like.
Matt, can I just say something about the psychology of it, if that's the term? Because Manchester United are just littered with creative attacking players. What could be more frustrating than being under pressure and defending?
Yeah, absolutely.
Seriously. It's soul destroying sometimes when that's what you want to do. And I know it's part of the game, but when you play against players that are, or teams that are full of creativity and been scoring goals for fun, they don't want to defend. They do, because what I'm saying is it's that they want to attack. They prefer to attack. So what could be better than to say, we're not going to let you?
Exactly that. Yeah.
So we're just going to delve into the back three. So typically, this has been where players have played. So left side of centre back, the middle of the three, and the right side of centre back. The numbers in brackets is how many times they've played there in the Premier League this season and FA Cup. So we've combined them together. And the ones highlighted in bold have been their most recent. So it's been Rudiger, Zuma, and Azpilicueta as their back three when they've chosen to play that in the most recent games. Any observations on the sort of profile of players within that back three?
I've got to stick up for him.
Go on,
Paul.
Azpilicueta, yeah,
beautifully pronounced.
I delved into his history and stuff. He was a forward at Osasuna. He's a Spanish lad. Osasuna as a forward, went to midfield, went to back. This is and if you look at his history now, in the last 4 seasons, he's played 36 games, 38 games, 37 games, 38 games, 37 games, 29, all league games.
Yeah.
This is an ever-present player, and he has held the fact he is one of the reasons they can play 3 and 4 at the back, because he can play right back, he could play wing back, he could play right side centre back, and he's got it all as that. But he doesn't score many goals. In that whole period since 2012, he scored 8 goals. Yeah.
Context on there. So when Rudiger played right side of centre back, Azpilicueta was the right wing back. So he has been ever present.
No, he's ever present. And this is what I'm saying about players who can started off as a forward, went to midfield with Osasuna, and then he went, I think it was in Marseille, went to Marseille, I believe it was Marseille, and then went to right back and centre back. And now he's just a legend there, and he's ever present. And if you've got players like that, you can play 3, 4, you can play 2 at the back. He'll still be able to do it for you. Is that having those players? So that's the big question. Have you got players that are flexible enough to drop into those slots?
Yeah, Noddy, I agree with you. And you've highlighted Azpilicueta in terms of the versatility of him. I'd also say that in Rudiger they got that in terms of playing either side as well. Yeah. And he's done it on 4 occasions each side. And I think, what's interesting for me is looking at sometimes managers chop and change their players. But although there's a little nucleus of the same players there, it's not being chopped and changed about too much, in my opinion. And I think that brings some stability to go within your team. And I also think that brings some harmony and sort of relationships around how you're playing and an understanding of each other. Because for every minute of time you spend on a training ground, there's no better way than to be tested in the 11v11 game, especially within the Premier League, playing with some of the top class players.
And Azpilicueta, if Pedro's in front of him, and Pedro roams, as all Chelsea forwards and Premier League forwards do, they roam all over the place. He's the glue. If Pedro's playing and maybe they play with a back 4, and he's the glue that says, "Go on, then you go where you want, but I'm gonna take, this is my area, and I'm gonna dominate this area." The right back, sort of that side of the field. So
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw that question out to you. Why would Chelsea opt to play with a back three? I know we've discussed some of this. I'm just going to populate it now in terms of some detail. We've spoken about getting more numbers up the pitch. Any other final remarks based on the video that we've just watched? Some of the discussions we've had.
Yeah, I just like, obviously you've stuck up the stuff that we talked about, Matt. But there's a million decisions that go on a weekly basis. Not a million, but there's a lot of decisions go on for a management team on a weekly basis. So you might have, and we've seen it this year. We've seen it a little bit more. Lockdown, players getting injured. What players do you have available? I've always found when I speak to managers, they want, when they're playing with a back three, is it 3 centre halves you want to play, like 3 natural centre halves who you play as a back three? Is it 1 natural centre half and 2 fullbacks as such? What is it you want? I think a back three gives you a physical presence, but I also, I'm going to hand it over to Noddy in a minute as well. But I also think that if I'm playing a back three, I want some athleticism in my back three, and I think in Azpilicueta, I think in Zuma, they've got a physical and an athletic presence. And I certainly think in Rudiger as well, they've got that. So, for me, that the athleticism of playing the back three, because of the distances they sometimes have to cover, if they are going to get countered, they will need that as well. Otherwise, they could be caught out. Yeah. Noddy, what's your thoughts?
I just think that I asked the question, why do you need 4 defenders? Why? You sometimes play, and I know in academy games, normally 2 centre halves mark one forward, and very seldom do they get outnumbered except on a counter attack. So normally, do you really need more than 3? And with someone like, if you looked at Azpilicueta, he can cover the ground. He's fit enough to cover the ground. These are super athletes. The question is do you really need 4? So the reason must be really tactical. Otherwise, you would say, no, we'll throw men forward, because we've got more men forward. We've got more chance of scoring, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've got more chance of them not getting up the field.
Yeah.
I guess for the coaches listening to that, that's a key message, isn't it? So that what are the profile of players that you need to play this position? We've shown in the clips Azpilicueta is putting the cross into Alonso, but if that breaks down and on transition, you then you need to have the capacity to get back in and defend. So you've got work rate to go both ways and be comfortable doing it.
It's interesting they played 3 at the back against Liverpool, and Liverpool are ruthless with their fullbacks. Yes.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? I'll tell you what, we're going to push you back. In order to push you back, we need numbers, and that is, that's really clear thinking.
They also, Noddy, went, they played a back 3 against Wolves. So for me, like that is that the management system saying we'll have a match up with them, because Wolves are, it's been a successful system in terms of where Wolves are this season. So it could
be interesting if that 3 at the back kept Traore quiet.
Absolutely. My last thing on this as well is, it's a word that we use. I'd say you've got to trust in what you're doing. You've got to trust in not. I don't say trust in the system. You've got to trust in the players that play in the system, or the formation. Because trust in the system. Well, the system is a sort of is a word you use, but it's the players that are playing in those formations or systems for you. So I think that's really important. Is having trust in those players, so you can go to bed on the Friday night before the Saturday game, not wake up in the middle of the night thinking I've made the wrong decision.
Also, Jimmy, Chelsea, and all the Premier League clubs have got it, and professional clubs should have them. They've got midfield players with boundless energy.
Yeah,
Mason Mount, I'd love to see how you see how much work he gets in. 1 minute he's getting it off the back 4, next minute he's in the penalty area the other end. Almost the same. Kante's the same. Maybe Giorgio is it Giorgio or
Jorginho? Yeah,
Jorginho, yeah,
his brother. Yeah, he's slightly different, but when you've got energy in the team, you know that you can take risks going forward because you can get back.
Yeah, agreed.
And Willian, people don't see how much work he puts.
So just to summarise, I'm going to throw this question out to both of you. So if you were in Frank Lampard's shoes going into Saturday, what would you be thinking? System, tactics, strategy, based on the last 50 minutes of discussion that we've just had. I'll come to you first, Jimmy.
Well, I'd look at the games previous in the league. We've won one in terms of we, because I'm a Chelsea fan. So they've won one, they've drawn one. They won the one with a back three, which they used, and they've drawn one with a back four, which was a back three originally. So for me, I don't know. I think the manager will have a good look at and be looking at what Arsenal have done over the final end to the season. It would not surprise me to see a back three. I hope it's a back three, because I just think that Chelsea have got a far better chance of winning the game by being more aggressive and on the front foot.
Yep. And over to you, Nobby.
Listen, I just want to see them play like they did last time. So I'd love to see them play with a back three. And I've got to say, I ain't got a clue what the formation. It depends which Arsenal team turns up.
Yeah.
If it's Arsenal in full flow, that could unsettle them, because they've got forwards that can create all sorts of carnage. It depends how they play. They're hit and miss. Chelsea at the moment are after their Manchester United sort of success. I would have thought their confidence is high to play that formation again and say to Arsenal, go on then, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, it's a great one, isn't it? We'll go with a back three, actually, so it can be more attacking and get more numbers up the pitch.
Yeah. Who knows what's
it's wonderful, right? So that tees us up perfectly. Tomorrow night we'll look into what Arsenal are going to do leading up to this.
Tomorrow night, I'm just good at tonight. Don't worry about that.
So we're gonna delve into the detail on what Arsenal like, especially with their front three. So what are the profiles of players within that, and the tactics and strategies that fall out of it. It's been a wonderful 50 minutes, fellas. I appreciate all your time. I hope all of you tuning in took quite a lot away from tonight. Just gave you some questions to ponder. This will go up on the FA Learning YouTube page. The links have been shared for the future FA Cup webinar series. And that's us.